Aloha, I'm Lyla Berg, and we're at the Hawaiʻi State Supreme Court ready to talk with the people who inform, inspire, and impact our everyday lives. Thank you for tuning in to Island Focus. In the Law Library of the Supreme Court.
Yes, we are the Supreme Court Law Library, which is the headquarters of the Hawaii State Law Library System. So this library is here in Honolulu, and we have branch libraries on the neighbor island courthouses too.
And what can someone find here besides books?
They can find legal information, court forms, sample forms, packets. Sometimes there's a lot of information online, but you can't get it all online, so we have helpful packets here to help people access the courts.
The beauty of this place.
I love working in our beautiful building. We were founded when King Kamehameha III promulgated the first constitution of the Kingdom of Hawaii. He created the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court Law Library was born.
And so anyone can have access here?
Yes, we are open to the public, and we would love it more if more of the public would come in, because sometimes people don't know that we're here. And we are one of two sources of free legal information here on Oʻahu, and on the neighbor islands, our law library system is the only source of legal information.
There's an effort with the Judiciary for public access.
Yes. Yes, and I think that's one of my jobs, is trying to reach out into the community to let them know that we're here, that we're a bunch of friendly law librarians that want to help them. And I think some people are intimidated by going to the courthouses to get information, and that's why we wanted to open our law library doors to help people.
Well, thank you so much for your generosity. Have you ever wondered what really happens in Washington, D.C.? Well, we're very pleased to have Congresswoman Colleen Hanabusa with us to give us a little more information and maybe some insight. Thank you for taking the time to be here. You're home in Hawaii.
Thank you, Lyla, and it's always good to be with you. That is an interesting question. What is it really like? And you know, I'm in a unique position where I was there for 4 years. I got to come home for 2 and then back again. And so when people ask me, what is it like? And I said, yeah, it's like repeating kindergarten twice. The thing I know now that I didn't know before is, you know who to play with in the sandbox, what part of the sandbox not to go into, and where the best shovels are hidden. And I said, those are important things. And that's what makes the success, I think, of being there. But the most important thing, especially for your audience and our people in Hawaii, they need to understand how different Washington, D.C. and the United States generally is from us. When we all say we're lucky we live Hawaii, you have no idea what that means and how lucky we truly are. We are a state that we all grow up, we grow up with, you know, different groups of people, but we know how to do one thing that a lot of people don't know how to do, which is respect and be able to live together. And that's what actually being in Washington, D.C. has taught me the most, is how to even more appreciate being from Hawaii, having grown up here, and the people that really, I like to proudly say, have defined me and made me who I am. So if you don't like me out there, it's your fault. No. But I mean, that's really what it's all about. It's just a different kind of mindset. Washington, D.C. is very different, but so is really most of the United States. I tell people, forget the East Coast, forget the West Coast, forget us. It's Middle America that's now defining us, and it's that makes it so difficult. And not only us, but people who are like on the West Coast or the East Coast, they have a difficulty in comprehending why. And you know, it's like, why do we have the president that we have? What's happening? How did the Democrats, which have dominated Hawaii for so long, we don't have either house? How does this happen when we listen to the issues and all of us think, well, of course, how can they say those things? But they have the votes.
And what I hear you saying too is that when we say Hawaii special, if there's more to it. It's not only how we grew up and how we live our lives, it's also the choices we make.
That's right.
And you're on many different committees where there's lots of choices to be made.
You know, I'm on Armed Services, and I was there for 4 years before. So I sit on Sea Power, the subcommittee, Sea Power, plus what is called Strategic Forces. And the reason I was interested in Strategic Forces was really PMRF, or the Daniel K. Inouye Pacific Missile Range Facility on the island of Kauai. And the fact that that is going to be one of the most critical aspects of our defense. I sit on Natural Resources, which is a committee I was on before, and I am what they call the ranking member of Federal Lands, which really has the widest jurisdiction. And people do not know is that Natural Resources is the oldest committee in the Congress of the United States. And Federal Lands is what it was called. Public Lands is what it was called. And I have been what they call waived on. We can only have 2 committees, but I was waived on by leadership, which I'm part of, to sit on science, space science and technology, which is NASA, STEM, and all those interesting subjects that I think have such a place in Hawaii. And that's what I do. But in addition to that, I am part of leadership. I'm part of Nancy Pelosi's 14 of us. And in addition to that, I sit also on committees called Steering and Policy, which really shapes how the House is going to move. So through that, I have a very different perspective on how Washington works. You get different kinds of information, and makes it even clearer to me that Hawaii is home, and I am so proud that it's my home.
Well, we are grateful that you're there. We're very happy that you're home and can get rejuvenated with us, and thank you for spending the time.
Thank you for having me.
We've been conversing with Congresswoman Colleen Hanabusa from Washington, D.C. and Hawaii. Thank you for joining us, and thanks for coming home. I'm here with Chief Justice Mark Recktenwald in the Hawaiʻi State Supreme Court. Thank you for tuning in, and thank you for joining us, Mark.
Thank you so much for being here, Lyla.
This is an amazing building, and I know you have a very important role in this building.
Well, this is Aliʻiōlani Hale. It's the home of justice in Hawaii in a very real sense. This building has been here since 1874, and we're in the Supreme Court courtroom where we hold our oral arguments in cases that come up on appeal from our court system. But one important thing we've done is to take the court out in the community. So we've actually been out around the state holding oral arguments in high schools over the last 4 or 5 years, and that's something we're very, very excited about, because it's important to help people understand what the court is, what we do, and how our justice system works, and what better way to do that than to bring the court out where folks can experience it firsthand.
Yes, and the role of Chief Justice is quite an honor. It's the highest position that's possible.
To me, I look at the folks who preceded me, and I'm in awe of them and what they accomplished. You know, Chief Justice Moon, C.J. Richardson, and other visionary leaders. And really, there's an opportunity both to decide cases and to shape the way the justice system is structured, and what our priorities are, and how we can best meet the needs of the public. And then, of course, to communicate about what we do and explain what we do and be able to answer questions about it. And that's why I'm so grateful you're here today.
Well, thank you for joining us, because
absolutely.
It's a legacy. You know, our 3 branches of government are often misunderstood or not even known about.
Probably the judiciary, there's a mystique about what we do, and I think, fortunately here in Hawaii in our court system, we do have cameras in our courtroom so people can see the proceedings, but even with that, I think there's a real need for us to come out and show people what the rule of law means. And probably the most gratifying thing when we've gone to high schools is when we hear comments from students who basically say, wow, that was really rigorous. The questions you asked of both sides were really tough, and I think they see that it's a process that has integrity and it's fair, and that's probably the most important lesson we can share with our young people about the judiciary.
I love that you are going into the community, and as a professional field, and not only demystifying, but also generating the thinking skills of our youth. There's a lot of legacy in judiciary in this building and in your role.
Absolutely, and when we go and conduct these arguments, they're actual cases, but what's really important is the bar, the lawyers in that community volunteer to go out to the classrooms before we bring the court to campus, and they teach the students about the case. They even run them through practice arguments where they can play the role of the court and the lawyers. So when we come on campus and convene the court, the students who are there, and sometimes we have up close to 500 students, understand what the issues are. They understand what the flaws are on each side, and they're really engaged in that argument. And then we do a Q&A session with the students afterwards. And we can't talk about the case because we haven't decided the case yet, but we can talk about how we came to be judges, how the system works, and it's incredibly exciting. We've been across the state. We're going to be on Maui later this month at Baldwin High School. We were at McKinley High School in the fall. So we've been neighbor islands, across Oʻahu, and we're really excited about this. We do it twice a year now.
Well, you bring not only intelligence and competency, but a great deal of heart and joy, it seems, into the process. And so if you had one message.
The message I would share is that, we have a system that is based on integrity and based on giving everyone their day in court and a fair shake when that time comes, when they have something that might be the most important thing. It can be the most important thing in their lives, or one of the most important things in their lives, that they're going to get a fair shake when they walk in the courtroom. And the other thing that I'd emphasize is that we really are trying to solve some of the root causes that bring cases in front of the judiciary. And in the criminal arena, we have problems with drug abuse, and what we want to do in those cases is to try to have an approach to the defendants in those cases where we can give them opportunities to overcome that drug abuse and then go out and become productive members of society. Because the thing we want is to make society safer and to not have a revolving door where people go out, commit the same crimes, and come back again because they're hooked on drugs.
Thank you so much for joining us today. I feel much safer even just talking with you.
Well, I really appreciate it, Lyla. And again,
you.
thank you for this opportunity to talk about what we do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We've been conversing with Chief Justice Mark Recktenwald. Thank you for joining us, and thank you so much.
Thank
again.
you, Lyla. I really appreciate it.
Mahalo for tuning into Island Focus and joining me in conversation with Lisa Murayama, President and CEO of the Hawaii Alliance of Nonprofit Organizations. Thank you, Lisa, for taking your time with us.
So happy to be here. Thank you.
Nonprofit organizations, what can you tell us about that?
A lot, actually. We're statewide. We're actually 2/3 of nonprofits actually are on Oʻahu, but there are nonprofits on the neighbor island. Everybody is in their community making impact, strengthening communities. They're very diverse. They range from the very small hula halau or parent-teacher association or soccer league, all the way to the large hospitals, Kamehameha schools. The private K-12 private schools are also nonprofits, and there's lots of diversity in mission as well. Environmental organizations, health and human service, arts and cultural organizations, as well as think tanks and educational organizations and churches as well.
There's a perception that, I believe in the public, that the nonprofits are always asking for money.
Which they are, actually, it's quite a challenge, I think, for a lot of nonprofits to achieve economic and financial sustainability over the long term. And largely because nonprofits, it's challenging to diversify their basket of revenue, basically. And so you have some that are reliant on government contracts, some that rely on private foundation and other types of philanthropy, corporate donations, as well as individual donations. And some have fee-for-service structures and business models where they're actually running social enterprises. And really the healthy, strong nonprofit is doing a little bit of all of that to diversify and to be sustainable and to get them and weather them through the ups and the downs. But also those that are excelling in those models of doing the deep dive and doing them well.
And maybe there's a need to rename this whole professional field, because it's not just nonprofit. There are business plans. I mean,
Exactly.
it's a business that
Yeah,
doesn't want profit?
We're nonprofits, and we're actual businesses too, in that we procure and we acquire resources. We have purchasing power, just like for-profit businesses. We basically are an economic engine unto ourselves in the state of Hawaii. There are 56,000 people employed in nonprofits. Not a lot of people know that. And we are $6.6 billion in revenue, and not a lot of people really understand that. And we're great community partners to business and government. You know, we talk about the three-legged stool in a community, in community stability, really. And if the three legs of the stool are not equal, one being business, for-profit sector, one being the government sector, and one being the nonprofit sector. If those legs are not equal and stable, then the stool, which is our community, falls short or falls over, really. And so we often want to remind our stakeholder partners that we are a viable partner to help get to strengthen communities, which I think is our common goal, right, in the state of Hawaii.
And on that three-legged stool, the nonprofits offer passion and joy and activities, and you know, and there's it's a great contribution.
Right. I mean, it's everything from the critical services that our government partners cannot or are not willing to provide, all the way to the things that make our hearts sing. So the tapestry of our community, really, the arts and culture, are anything that allows our keiki to thrive.
And our seniors to be healthy.
Exactly. Everything from the, you know, from birth to death, really, is we're providing that seamless tapestry of services to make life rich.
Yes, well, thank you so much for joining us and for sharing your passion, your joy for being President and CEO of the Hawaii Alliance for Nonprofit Organizations. We've been chatting with Lisa Murayama. Thank you very much for joining us, and I appreciate
Thank you for
being
having
here.
me.
At the Judiciary History Center.
Yes, and the Judiciary History Center is an administrative program of the Hawaii State Judiciary. We are based here at Aliʻiōlani Hale, which is the home of the Supreme Court for the state of Hawaii, a very historic building. During the Kingdom period, this was the capital of the Kingdom of Hawaii. The Judiciary History Center is an administrative program of the Hawaii State Judiciary, and we're kind of like charged with being a public outreach for the judiciary. So in addition to the museum space that we have here, we have 3 galleries here in the History Center. We also do other programs. So we do school tours from 2 through college, both here at the Supreme Court and the First Circuit Court of Hawaii. We also do teacher professional development. So we work with teachers throughout the school year, both public and private school teachers, and we work with them on various law-related and civics-related matters, so that they have materials that they can take into the classroom.
I love this artwork. It's just so relevant.
Yeah, it definitely is. And particularly in this gallery here, what we're trying to do is we're trying to tell people about the history of law here in Hawaii, both pre-contact and post-contact. We're talking a little bit about the kapu system, and then we go into the transition from the late 1700s to this more hybrid system of justice that we developed here in Hawaii.
Great, thank you so much.
Oh, my pleasure.
We're at the Hawaii State Supreme Court, and I'm here with Jose Fajardo, President and General Manager of Hawaii Public Radio. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for being here.
Oh, my pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
I think you're newly on the job.
Yes, almost a full year at Hawaii Public Radio. I came in to take over from Michael Titterton, who retired in June, and I started officially on July 1st.
And coming in new to Hawaii as well, and into this new role, you have some projects that are pretty special.
Right, we had 2 major projects that I was happy to help fulfill and get past the finish line. One was our recent statewide transmission project, which allowed us to take Hawaii Public Radio to all the islands of the state of Hawaii. And we completed that in November of this past year by putting in a transmitter in Hilo, bringing HPR2 to the east side of the big island of Hawaii. So now we're able to say we have almost 100% coverage of Hawaii Public Radio through the entire state of Hawaii. And the second, our big project, was our recent program realignment, which allowed us to put all of our news programs on one stream, HPR1, and our classical music programs on HPR2.
Maybe you can help the public understand or can be informed about the breadth of Hawaii Public Radio. I mean, there's so many interviews and music. It's really exciting.
Absolutely. Well, Hawaii Public Radio has been around for 35 years in this community. And it provides not just national and international news and interview programs, but also a lot of local content. 31% of our programming is produced locally here in Hawaii. That's music programs and news and information programs.
And how do you integrate the national information?
So we have our national programs, and sometimes within our national programs we have cutaways that we can insert a local 3-minute news program, but we also have long-form programs like The Conversation that we air at 11 o'clock, and Bite Marks Cafe and The Body Show that are also locally produced on HPR.
I always find so much inspiration, even listening to the music, and I would love to be able to have the youth look at public radio as not only a viable option for them, but also a place to go to. Is that part of the vision?
Absolutely. So we just recently expanded Bridging the Gap, which is a locally produced music show by DJ Mr. Nick that has a young following. Used to air only on Saturdays. Now it's on Monday through Fridays from 10 to midnight. And we hope that that serves as an introduction, as a gateway to our younger listeners to find Hawaii Public Radio, become long-term listeners and supporters of the station.
And because we're such a visual society, how does listening play into that?
Well, listening plays into it in a variety of ways because we want our listeners not just to tune in to listen to news and information, but interact with us. So we just launched a new app that's available on the Apple Store and Google Store, which allow our listeners to actually look at public radio on their Apple phone or their smart devices, look at stories, download stories, listen to them, or read the stories as well.
That's pretty unique.
It is. It's very exciting.
How exciting.
It is, because it's a new tool for us to use to connect our content with our listeners here in the state of Hawaii.
Is that part of your background?
Well, my background is 30 plus years in radio and TV. So I manage public radio and TV stations in Texas and Orlando, and not just radio here, but I'm a geeky guy. So I like technology and I want to explore technology as well.
And you come with rich culture and history as well.
Yeah, born and raised in Puerto Rico, so I have a little bit of island life experience. Lived in Texas for a while, and then Orlando, Florida, where I lived 20 years before moving to Hawaii. And I love it. I love it so much.
So in one snapshot statement perhaps, or a thought, your joy.
Oh my gosh, well, you know, I fell in love with the radio when I was 8 years old. I love the fact that I'm able to share through this medium of radio the joy of music or the joy of learning and information, and just connecting with listeners is just terrific for me.
Well, you certainly bring that energy to Hawaii Public Radio, and I want to thank you for taking your time and definitely encourage the public to listen in.
Absolutely, thank you.
We've been chatting with Jose Fajardo, President and General Manager of Hawaii Public Radio. Tune into them too. I have the pleasure of conversing with Dr. Regina Pressler, who is the Director of the Department of Health in the state of Hawaii. Thank you very much for taking your time.
My pleasure.
You're a very busy lady.
Well, there's lots going on at the Department of Health. There's always something.
Please share with us your vision and your mission, because every leader comes in with something new.
Okay, well, in between putting out fires and taking care of the latest crisis or outbreak of disease or sewage spill or whatever it might be, I've worked with our whole team at the Department of Health to put together a strategic action plan for the next 5 years, and hopefully to last for many years beyond that. And it's all about creating a culture of health throughout the state, so that health is everybody's kuleana. It's mine, it's yours, it's your community groups, it's your workplace, it's your family. Everybody needs to own health in order to create a culture of health throughout the state. And we're focused on moving upstream to try to really create healthy families for healthy babies. We know that having a healthy baby starts long before conception. So we're doing many things together with the Department of Human Services and also with the Department of Education, so that we can create a comprehensive approach to supporting families and addressing some of those social issues that impact health outcomes as well. So we're trying to make sure that more babies are planned so that we know that the mothers have the support systems that they need. They're prepared to have the child, and they have a safe and healthy environment to give that child the best opportunities. We're also working on trying to integrate behavioral health into primary care, because behavioral health is so neglected, and that to me includes both mental health issues as well as substance abuse. And we're hearing more and more about the opioid problem across the nation. It's less of a problem in Hawaii, but it's still an issue, and it's a symptom to me of a larger problem with some underlying behavioral health issues. So we need to decriminalize it and treat it as a chronic disease, and make sure that we're giving people the support that they need so that they can live a healthy, our objective is wellness and true health. The other major piece that we're doing is trying to make full use of technology. So using things that we call like telehealth, which is can be just your smartphone, or it can be a kiosk where there's blood pressures and blood sugars and things like that remotely, so that we can get better access to care, not only for people on the neighbor islands, but even just our kapuna, so they don't have to be bundled up into the car to go to a doctor's visit, that they could actually be seen in their own home and have the support systems that they need there. And so those are the things that we're putting together statewide.
And creating not only the vision, the mission, but the action plan is so coherent with who you are. I appreciate how we started the conversation with putting out fires, because the Department of Health has huge responsibilities in so many areas. I love how you talk about the partnerships among the departments.
Yes, that's critical, because, for instance, a good example that we're working on is home visitations to families in need, and Department of Health sees these families, and Department of Human Services sees them. Sometimes we might see the child and they might see the parent. So what we're doing is we're working to create joint site visits and sharing of information so that we can provide better support and be much more effective and efficient of the resources that we have to get to more people, and to make sure that we have coordinated care and we're treating the whole family. It's what Department of Human Services is calling Ohana Nui. So we're working in partnership with them to help make that happen throughout the state.
Your work has been professionally always about building partnerships.
Well, I took the job in the first place. I was Chief Strategic Officer at Hawaii Pacific Health, and I'd been there for 12 and a half years. I had no intention of leaving, so when I was asked to take this role, I said no initially. But when I saw the governor's vision, and I've known the governor for many, many years in other capacities, I trusted him, and I knew that I could work with him. I realized that I could make a difference, and after thinking about it for several months, I finally realized I should do this, and I'm glad that I did. It's been January of 2015, so a little over 2 years already, and I feel very good about the things we've accomplished.
You've always made a difference. You continue to make a difference, and thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you.
We've been chatting with Dr. Regina Pressler, Director of the Department of Health in the state of Hawaii, and thank you for joining us. Mahalo to the Hawaii State Supreme Court for hosting us today, and to you for tuning in to Island Focus. I'm Lyla Berg. Aloha and malama pono. Take care of each other. See you soon.